about all things yoga. This week we're talking about tripod headstand. It's one of my favorite poses to come into. I think it's a really powerful, really fun pose to play with. And it's different than bound headstands we've already discussed on one of our episodes. Because it has kind of a different way, obviously a different way of coming into it, but it has a different feel. It feels different in the body. I feel like it takes a lot more core strength, and it's a fun pose, again, to play with. So we're going to talk about the basics of this pose, the way to come into it, or the different ways to come into it, and kind of ways to play with it if you're not quite ready to come all the way up. As a reminder, of course, whenever you work with headstands, you want to make sure that you check with the doctor first if you're not already practicing inversions. You don't want to practice tripod if you have any neck issues. If you have any reasons you should be turning upside down, especially if you have glaucoma or any other types of issues, high blood pressure. So just be sure to check in with your doctor if you're new to inversions and have not tried tripod yet. So a couple ways to come into it. The most beginner version is just to play with kind of a little baby tripod. So I often will teach this in my classes for people who aren't quite ready to lift the legs all the way up, because it is a scary pose to do that in. But you can do this to begin to see what it would feel like to have your weight in your head in a tripod position. Okay, so for this version of the pose, and I'm going to show it from the side, but usually I would have people come into it from a wide-legged forward fold, right? So I'll do it from the side so you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. You'll have people in a wide-legged forward fold, or you'll be in a wide-legged forward fold. And from here, the first option for coming into a tripod is to begin to bring your head to the floor. Now, bringing your head to the floor is not an option for you from this pose if your legs are a little too tight. The way to come into it is to bend the knees a little bit, maybe widen your feet a little bit, and then tip forward. So you can do it with the knees bent. That's totally fine. Once you get your head to the floor, you want to move your hands so that you can see them. You want a triangle shape. So a big triangle on the mat. Head, hand, hand. You should be able to see both of your hands, and when your elbows bend, they should be at a 90-degree angle with the floor. So you're making this little shelf with the upper arm. Again, this is for people who are not coming into the full pose. You can play with bending one knee and bringing that knee to the upper arm, and then bending the other knee and bringing the knee to the upper arm, and bringing your big toe mounds together. And you can breathe here. So you can play with kind of lifting your legs, engaging the core here, and you can see how that feels. For those who want to take it deeper, you can play with pulling the belly in and lifting the legs up. And then maybe play with lowering back down. But again, that's kind of the next stage, next step. Okay, so playing in that little tripod stand is a great place to be if you're new to the pose. You'll just lift up, keep your knees on your upper arms, hang out, and then come back down. Okay, so that's step one. Well, actually, step one is just bringing your head to the floor. For some of you, that may be enough. You may want to just play with bringing your head to the floor and seeing how it would feel here just to tip your weight forward a little bit into the head. And you can just see how that would, kind of what it would feel like to have a little pressure in the head, and kind of just see how that would feel and be okay with that. That's the first step. So before you come into this pose, you also want to make sure that you feel safe having weight in your head, and you want to make sure that your neck is not doing all the work. So the core is working here. This stable position that you're making with the upper body is really going to help you activate that core. So the arms, the back, the shoulders are doing the work. There is weight in the head, of course, and the neck. But you want to be mindful that you're not putting all the weight in the neck and forgetting about the core and the upper body. So the other way to come into this pose is from a wide-legged forward fold. So I'm going to demonstrate this. Sadly, I'm going to stick my booby in the camera's face, which I hate. So just ignore that part and try to pay attention to what my body is doing and how I'm getting into the pose. Okay, so how we do this, again, is to come from a wide-legged forward fold. So typically, you would be like this, right? So same thing, head on the floor, elbows are coming in. You want to find that nice stable base. And then from here, if the legs are out, you'll begin to shift the weight into the head and begin to activate the core. Lift the legs up. Ankles hug in towards each other. Body is one long line. And then you'll slowly lower all the way back down to that wide-legged forward fold. Okay. So as you saw, got a little wobbly up there, that's totally fine. Way to get everything activated is to pull the belly in, squeeze the ankles in, one long line of energy in the body. So it's similar to our bound head thing in that way. We're always pulling everything up and in, pulling the belly in, and breathing there. So ways to come into tripod. From that little kind of beginner tripod stage where you're just bringing your elbows onto your knees. You can even play with lifting one leg at a time from there, right? You can just hang out there, or you can lift both legs from that position, or you can come into it again from this wide-legged fold. Okay, so two fun ways to work with this pose. You can work with it with a wall behind you, right? So that's totally fine if you're new, but try not to, again, kick up or something. It's kind of hard to kick up into this pose, but try to, again, move slowly and try not to use the wall. You can know it's there mentally if you need that, but try not to use it so you build that strength in the core and you learn to find balance on your own. With this in pose, it's very important in particular because often you're doing it in a place where you could easily fall on a student, right? So you want to make sure you're stable before you come all the way up. So have fun playing with it. Tripod headstand, super fun pose, takes a lot of core strength, but once you get it, you find you just kind of float up. It's a really magical, kind of fun feeling once you get this pose. So enjoy it. Have a great week.